Oh, that's not the view that we wanted to start with.
It's meeting you here, Jason.
Yeah, fancy seeing you here, Max. So, how unusual. Welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly, everyone. We are bringing you Transformers news from around the world and across Australia, very little across Australia this week. This is episode 252. We are going live on Sunday, the 6th of February, 2022. We're doing it on a Sunday night so that we have a chance to talk about the Hasbro Fans First Friday event that just occurred this past weekend, Saturday morning, Australian time. So we saw some Legacy reveals, some Studio Series reveals, and we're also going to talk about a couple of new acquisitions that Max and I have. All that and more is coming up in this week's episode after this. Welcome to the show. I'm Jason, your regular host. Joining me this week is Max, coming to us live from Adelaide in South Australia. How are you doing, Max?
Hot and bothered. That's about it, really. It's standard Adelaide summer. I would like nothing. Yeah,
is that standard Adelaide? Hot and bothered.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's standard me. I'm usually hot and bothered. Maybe I'm from Adelaide. I don't know. That would be slightly concerning, but yeah.
I'd be worried if I was you.
I would be worried too. I've been to Adelaide.
It's an awful place.
So moving to Sydney sometime soon, eh?
Sorry, no, that's a much worse place.
You know what? I would say I don't think Sydney has the diversity of Australian wildlife that you've come to expect from your life in Adelaide and South Australia. So perhaps not.
There's a lot of concrete, I suppose.
It's true. There's a lot of concrete. I like to walk on that concrete. We're off to a good start. We're talking about concrete and Adelaide.
Yeah.
This is concrete.
Very natural flow of banter here.
It is.
Oh, geez.
So Max, how was that insert anecdote here this week? I thought it was insert emotion.
I was overjoyed, thrilled,
overjoyed. That's a good one. We'll remember that for next time. It's a bit of a quiet podcast this week. It being a Sunday night, I could only wrangle Max into doing a podcast this week, but we've missed a lot of episodes in the past year because we couldn't get three people together. So we decided that this week we'll go with two because there was an event from Hasbro this week revealing some figures, some of which we knew about, others we met for the first time. It was, of course, half the reveals were, of course, spoiled about 3 hours beforehand by In-Demand Toys in the UK, putting things up on their Facebook page, which was great for those of us who were going to bed. Because when Hasbro does these streams, they turn up at about 3 a.m. our time. So I in fact, did not get up for the stream at 3 a.m. I distinctly remember setting my alarm for 2:55 a.m. And when the alarm went off, I turned it off, and then I went back to sleep. And I thought absolutely nothing of it. I didn't even realize why I had set the alarm. So, that was a bit unfortunate for me. But did you watch the stream live at all, Max?
No, I used to watch all of these things live as they happen, but it's realistically. Everything's done on live stream nowadays because, since the pandemic, right? Every single thing, like every toy reveal is a million different live streams. To be honest, if you're all in American time at 3 a.m, don't quite have the time for that. So it becomes a nice, pleasant surprise to wake up to.
No, that's true. Look, I find I don't really need to watch the live stream because countless news sites and YouTube channels and podcasts will have made episodes discussing it. Soon after, I think the moratorium is about a day and a half to 2 days after. That's about the limit, right? We're gonna just slide in under that limit when with our discussion on these figures. Look, I think maybe without maybe we should just not mince any words anymore, and let's just get to the meat of it, and let's start talking about what Hasbro actually revealed this Saturday morning. There's a number of characters, but as Hasbro likes to do these days, before they reveal the toys, they make people sit through all of the franchise and the brand updates, where the very excitable, I think her name was Isabel from marketing, gets to tell us ecstatically about all of these things that nobody cares about. And so this week, the updates were mercifully small and pretty fast. There was an update on the VR game called Transformers Beyond Reality, which is, despite the in fact, there's a thumbnail here that was from PulseCon 2021. Despite the PlayStation VR branding, it is a PlayStation VR and a Steam VR. Not AR, but VR game that you play in the comfort of your own home with a comfortable headset on your head, so that you can turn around and look. And it's a first-person shooter. And they did mention on the stream that this is the third game that this company has made for them that features Transformers in VR. And we have heard VR Transformers stuff go on over the last couple of years, but they've been VR installation games in shopping centers that you have to rock up and pay $20 to play for half an hour or something like that. And this is the first time that they've done an at-home version of the game, so you can play these in the comfort of your own home. Besides that, it seems like a pretty straightforward run and gun, shoot 'em up, first-person shooter kind of thing, which really makes me wonder why they needed it to be a VR game, and it makes me wonder whether or not we'll actually see a non-VR version of the game. But if they do that, they're not going to be able to call it Transformers Beyond Reality, because it is, of course, another one of those games that follows the tradition of naming itself after the technology that it is espousing, rather than actually what goes on in the game. And Janet,
doesn't quite have the same ring as Transformers firmly grounded in reality.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like you have to be seen to be doing something beyond reality. So in the game, you are a human. You're not a transformer. You're a human who's wearing. They very specifically said Terran, actually, as a reference to Earth. They said Terran Cybertronian hybrid armor, which the main difference that I could see in the launch trailer that they played during the stream is that it means every single transformer that you meet who wants to kill you will comment on how you're a human, and isn't it funny that you're a human playing, fighting against Transformers, which got old very fast. But so you'll come up against some some traditional foes. Megatron's in the game. We saw Megatron in the trailer. You can see Soundwave on screen in front of us here. They're not specifically like Legacy or Netflix versions or Siege or War for Cybertron or anything like that. They seem to be somewhat based on I'm going to say the evergreen designs of the characters, but that might not necessarily be true either. But yeah. So, Max, you ever played a VR game?
No, I have. I was underwhelmed. I can't even remember what it was. I know I have played it at some point, but VR and all this virtual reality stuff are going to sound like a bit of someone who's 10 times my age, but I just don't get it whatsoever.
No, that's fair enough.
It's a bit disconcerting. I don't know.
I guess I'm a bit dismissive of it, because I just don't really see the point of buying all of this extra hardware to sit on your couch and not use the biggest screen in your house. But look, there are some really good VR games and experiences out there. Depending on the hardware that you have connected up, and the platform and the ecosystem is maturing, but it's not matured to the point that I have one of these things in my house that I would want to be playing a Transformers-based game on. And maybe that'll change in a few years' time. Well, who knows? We'll see. But for now, Transformers Beyond Reality is getting released on PlayStation VR and Steam VR on March 31st. So that's the end of next month. So if you are into those games and into that, and you've got those platforms at home, then do play the game and get the game. Let us know how it is. We'd love to hear about it. You can do a post in TCC, do a review, anything like that. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see some reviews of the game as it sort of comes closer to launch. Maybe from some gaming publications, maybe from some Transformers fans. We'll see. Anyway, the other game that they were talking about is another game that I don't play, which is Transformers Top. So it's Top War. They did a crossover with Top War last year. I remember talking about it at the time. I think they announced it around PulseCon time, and it was quite bizarre because they announced it and it started the day after it was announced or something, and the event only lasted about another week or so, and then it was done. And so they're coming back for another shot, and this time they've subtitled their event "Darkness Falls," and you can see from the graphic. You can see from the graphic on here they've sort of paired up. There's a bunch of Autobots on screen with Starscream closing in on them, and they've got the Top War guys shooting up all the Sharkticons coming to join them as well. And there is, of course, a very ominous Unicron head floating in the background. So the storyline for this crossover will apparently see Autobots and Decepticons teaming up against some kind of ominous threat. I wonder what that might be.
It would be a shame if they put it on a poster, but
well, I think it's pretty obvious what it is.
Yeah, this the same thing that is sort of drives that storyline in every piece of Transformers media.
Pretty much. Although it is actually interesting, and I will be the Transformers nerd here. It is interesting that it's Unicron's head, but nothing else, and you've sort of got a very
clearly alive Unicron's head too.
Very, very clearly alive, which sort of it makes me wonder if they're sort of riffing on some of the old Marvel UK comics where Unicron was trying to reconnect his head to other planets to turn them into a new body for him and stuff like that. Because you can see he's got like cables and wires and shit like that hanging out the bottom of his head. So maybe there's something like that going on plot wise here. Who knows? We're going to have to rely on someone else who plays Top War to tell us what's going to go on there, because I will not be finding out.
No, I've never even heard of this game until now. So.
Oh man, I've heard of Top War all over the place the last year, because it comes up every third post on Facebook as an ad between all of the things that I'm browsing and looking at. So I'm very familiar with Top War. I've come very close to installing it a couple of times because it actually looks kind of fun. As far as sort of turn-based RPGs, and I'm not even sure if it's turn-based or if it's real-time strategy or anything like that. I'm not opposed to those kind of games, but I'm not sure that a Transformers crossover is going to entice me to play these games. You know what I mean?
I'm sort of looking at it as like, I never knew this thing existed until now. So evidently, these sort of crossover events do serve their intended purpose. I mean, I'm not going to play it. I guess
you're now aware of the game.
Yeah. So I'm aware of it. The next step is considering downloading it. The next step is playing it.
Mm. Well, you know what? We'll check in next episode and see whether or not you've downloaded Top War, and we'll see how that goes. My suspicion is that the answer will be no.
I think I suspect the same.
Yeah, but we'll see. Transformers Top War Darkness Falls is, I don't even know when it's coming out, but the last time they announced these kind of crossovers, though, it was pretty fast. So I'd say it's coming soon. If you are a fan of Top War, do get in touch and let us know.
Please tell us that you exist.
If you're a fan of Top War, and you're watching the podcast right now, put a comment into the chat, because I would like to know out of the current viewers who actually plays Top War.
It's a curiosity. I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah. So there's another thing which I was quite amused by, which is notable. Also announced in the franchise update. is a hookup with Calm. Now, Calm is an app that's meant to sort of help you chill out, focus, calm your brain, rest your brain, calm yourself before you go to sleep, or things like that. And so you can download narrated stories and things like that on Calm. And so Calm has released a new story called The History of the Transformers. Bit of a spoiler as to what it might be about, and it's narrated by Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. They played a little excerpt of it in the live stream, and it was really interesting. It's got a stylized version of the Transformers Prime music in the background, which I thought was really interesting. And absolutely nobody's mentioned it because I think people just scrolled right on past this story. But
no, I didn't notice that either.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So yeah, so there's a sort of it's a very ambient. It's actually quite nice. Like I would actually like it because it's probably like a 40-minute mix of music or something. It would be cool to have on in the background while I work, as long as it doesn't put me to sleep. But yeah, it was definitely based on the Transformers Prime theme, and it was narrated by Peter Cullen. But the way that the narration for this goes is, it's sort of like reassuring sentence. Another reassuring sentence. Well, here we are. It's very slow. And in fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's slower than the delivery of lines in the Netflix series, just so that you have a barometer for how slow it is. But I mean, it's kind of meant to be.
Point, yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be. And so Peter Cullen's are sort of going, oh, thank you for letting all of the Autobots park outside your house. Not many humans would allow us to do that. I'm like, I feel like humans probably wouldn't know, but that's okay. And of course, he in the preview they played on the Hasbro stream, you do of course get the immortal line from Peter Cullen. Oh, I should introduce myself. I am Optimus Prime. It's the number one thing that Cullen says whenever he voices Prime. But so these kind of apps have their devotees, and it's a bit fun, and I think it's an interesting place for them to take the franchise. It also very notably denotes Calm as better than the Netflix voice casting people, because they're willing to work with union actors because they've got Peter Cullen.
I think the whole draw is probably that they have Peter Cullen specifically.
I think you're right.
Sorry, I stopped for a second because you were muted.
That's right. I was just clearing my throat.
Sorry. I'm a bit tired from work, in case you couldn't tell. Bloody hell.
It's all right. I think the draw is that it's. It's Peter Cullen, but also, if you're the kind of person who does use Calm, and a lot of people do, like it's a really popular app. If you are the kind of person who uses Calm to play ambient noise and things like that to send you to sleep, and you're a Transformers fan, go for it, enjoy it.
I could see it kind of working, because he is, Peter Cullen's Prime. It's like this gentle, soothing, fatherly voice. That's always been the thing. It's like this grandfather figure, and then it's also just a matter of, if you're say you're a Transformers fan, there's a fair bit you already know whatever form of the backstory they've gone with. So it's kind of like just soothing white noise, I'd imagine.
Actually,
it's like if you put on whale sounds or waves crashing. Are
you saying that Peter Cullen is a whale?
So, I'm saying it's anecdotally similar, right? It becomes that white noise that just filters out through the background, and it's all you hear. But because you might already know the stuff he's talking about, it all just blurs together, and you fall gently to sleep.
I'm actually curious, because like they're saying, this is the history of the Transformers. It says, join Optimus Prime in an epic tale about the origin of the Autobots and the Decepticons. Is that really going to send you to sleep? Like, I feel like I might want to listen to that.
They said it's about a 40-minute. If you're a Transformers fan, you already know it. right?
Do you though?
So you might, but if it's a sort of generic, I'd imagine it's probably a sort of generic, homogenized version of different origin stories. Right?
Well,
if I had to take a guess.
This is what I was also thinking.
If you're not a Transformers fan, there's every chance that you might get invested in the story. And at that point, when you're not falling asleep because you want to listen.
Maybe at the very end of it, they're going to assume that everyone's asleep and there'll just be subliminal messages. Buy Legacy. Go to Walmart.com and pre-order now. So the thing I think is interesting is that the author, Ryder Wyndham, is not a Transformers name that I'm familiar with. So if he's written the origin of the Autobots and Decepticons, who knows which version of the story he's gone with.
Turns out it's actually just shattered glass.
It turns out maybe there's a sting in the tail that you only hear if you actually make it through to the 45-minute mark. Who knows? I think we've dumped on Calm enough. Like I said, there are definitely people who enjoy using the application. In all seriousness, there's a lot of people who have trouble getting to sleep. It's a nice app to help calm your headspace down and help you chill out for a bit. So, if you're on Calm and you've got a Calm I think you pay a monthly subscription. I assume this just pops up and it's a part of your selectable things in Calm. So, go for it. I may try it out and I may listen to it just so that I can find out what the origin of the Autobots and the Decepticons actually is once and for all. If Optimus Prime says it must be true.
Yeah, I'm curious, and it's not a morbid curiosity. Ordinarily these sort of things. When you hear about a sort of bad piece of media, it's like, most people that watch, a crappy movie comes out and everyone sort of goes to watch it. And then
I'm doing this tomorrow, but yeah.
Oh, what are you saying?
I'm going to go see Moonfall.
Oh, that does. Yeah, see? That's a perfect example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm morbidly curious about that. But this isn't quite morbid curiosity. It's on that borderline where there is a genuine sort of like, this could actually be soothing to listen to.
I mean, this is the thing. Is like it's intended to send you to sleep, so maybe it's not that soothing. Maybe it's too soothing and it's not very accurate. But who knows? Do you want to talk about some toys?
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah, I think we should talk about toys. We're 23 minutes in, and it's time to talk about some toys. There were 14 figures revealed over the course of the live stream. They started with Studio Series Bumblebee. So there's Studio Series Bumblebee it's seen a bit of a bumper list of releases in the first half of or the first couple of months of this year. We've seen Wheeljack, Ratchet, Brawn, and Soundwave released from the Bumblebee line. And so, as we've said a few times, mark my words, they're going to go through every single character that they can from that opening scene, and they're going to do toys of them. So expect to see more of them. They revealed 2 during the live stream. It was they're more deluxes. It's Deluxe Rc, which we're looking at on screen here at the moment, and Ironhide, who is a repaint of Ratchet. We'll get to Ironhide in a minute. RC is very much based on her G1 appearance, but now has an alt mode of a sort of a Cybertronian. I guess it's a futuristic bike kind of thing. It's not the first time that we've had this kind of an alt mode in Transformers, especially like going back to G1. Like some of the I think one of the Technobots had sort of a futuristic thing. It was like a bit of a light cycle kind of thing. So, so RC has a new alt mode that we haven't seen before for her, and it all seems to tuck away fairly nicely. That backpack doesn't look huge for once.
No, and it seems reasonably movie accurate to me. Obviously, we didn't get to see too much of it in the film, but it's maintaining that same general silhouette.
I think
one thing I've really enjoyed about obviously haven't seen any of these in hand yet, but just looking at the images and the videos floating around of these figures, it's the fact that they haven't had alt modes visible in the movie, and then being able to retain this amount of accuracy in the robot mode has been it's been really refreshing to see. I guess it's sort of just freed up the creative liberty a bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, you get cases where what the hell does Soundwave actually turn into? But that's
who cares?
That's I mean, that's kind of not the norm. Like, at least there are recognizable alt modes for most of these guys, and yeah, they've done a good job of keeping them the look of them as they appeared on screen, but giving them an alt mode that doesn't really compromise that look. And so, also there are characters that reach back into G1, and so RC is one that she had a futuristic car mode in G1, and they clearly didn't want to just do that again here, because they've just done an RC in the last couple of years. So it's good to see them come back. She's got 2 guns there as well, so dual wielding the guns, and also I think the presence of the front wheels at the back of her feet will give her quite some stability and posing options as well.
Yeah, it's just looks. There isn't a huge amount to say about it, really. It just looks solid. I guess I don't particularly have any critiques to throw at it. It just looks like a genuinely solid figure.
So I've handled a couple of these guys over the last few days, and they are not large figures, right? They're small for deluxes. We know the price points are going up, and there's more of a difference between deluxes and Voyagers now, because the deluxes are just getting a bit smaller. But especially with the Studio Series line, I feel like the deluxes have tended to be a little bit smaller, but a little bit more detailed. And we know that the deluxe price point is based more on part count than size. So these guys do have quite a lot of quite complex transformations. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing RC in person, because who doesn't love a pink transformer? But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to put her up against the other bots in this line. Now, so out of the 3 that have been released so far in the deluxe range, there's Wheeljack, Brawn, and Ratchet. There's been a lot of interest in Brawn from people, but the standout for me has to be Ratchet, mainly because it's Ratchet, and you know that with Ratchet, if you pair up a white bot with red highlights and a blue sort of central windscreen kind of design, it's going to look awesome, and it does. Ratchet looks fantastic. His colors are very much like the Siege Ratchet colors, with this vivid, bright blue, transparent window on the chest. And so where Ratchet goes, Ironhide goes. And so we've got to look at Ironhide here. I had thought that Ironhide wasn't slated for release this year, but he does actually slot into one of the waves that seems to be coming out around May. So they've done Ratchet now for February, and so I think the next release is April or May. So he should be out in the next wave. Saw this guy sort of opened and around my house yesterday. Very interesting transformation. It's interesting to see what goes where and how he sort of explodes and then reforms into a vehicle. I think this is going to be really popular. I think a lot of people have really been up for Ratchet, and I think a lot of people are also really looking forward to Ironhide.
Yeah, dare I say it almost works better in the Ironhide color scheme. I don't quite know what it is there, but yeah, it just looks. There's a clean, you know what I mean? There's a sort of overall clean aesthetic to it, and then this really, the way the blue on the chest just pops out so much more. I think it's sort of just the way the angles slope together. It just really makes for. It's hard to describe what I'm talking about, but it's like the way the angles slope together on the chest, and then pairing that with like just that nice transparent plastic, like you said, it just makes it look really like there's a sort of overall cleanliness of the color palette, but then you have this one section which just pops out. It's a really nice looking piece.
I feel like Ratchet, perhaps the chest pops more on Ratchet because it's up against white, but the white also looking at a white figure just sort of makes it look a bit unpainted and plain. So I can see the appeal of having sort of a fuller color scheme. around the bot, which is what you get with the red on Ironhide. But I mean, Ratchet is Ratchet's main color is white, so fair enough. But I love the way that the windscreen pops on Ratchet in the blue. I think this is a slightly less vivid blue, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I also think that just the overall proportions of the mold too seem to work a bit better for Ironhide. Like, obviously they both share the exact same design, but from just the sort of character perspective, it is not a bit nicer having this very burly, rounded look to it for an Ironhide rather than a Ratchet.
That's true, and so I guess it makes a little bit more sense having this big gun mounted on the top of what is essentially, it looks like an armored vehicle or some kind of armored vehicle. The gun makes a lot more sense on him than it does for Ratchet to carry it as well.
I do appreciate that the alt mode looks slightly reminiscent of the War for Cybertron alt mode too.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's not a fluke. I'm guessing that Hasbro's designers really specifically had that in mind. There's lots of questions over where they've brought the inspiration for these figures for their alt modes. It seems that despite what David says in the comments about Soundwave turning into a robot roast chicken, it seems that Soundwave turns into something that appears to be from the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover comic, some kind of a Cybertronian ship or glider or something.
I don't think they ever specified what that thing was. It was literally just this flying plank.
Yeah,
it wasn't much of anything.
So it can be. I mean, like the Green Goblin can ride him around. We don't mind. But yeah, so it's the inspiration for the alt modes can come from all over the place. And so, yeah, maybe there is a little bit of War for Cybertron in these guys. We'll find out. All right, that was it for Bumblebee reveals. They did spend a little bit of time with Studio Series 1986 as well. This guy, we're looking at the Voyager Junkyard. He is a partial retool of Wreck-Gar. And the interesting thing that I caught when they were talking about this in the live stream is that partial retools are rare in the Studio Series because most of the bots have such distinctly different designs that most of the time they'll just do like a straight up repaint and repaint a character into something else. They don't really get to change the design very often. But they said that they got the opportunity to do a partial retool. They mentioned that Junkyard's head was originally designed along with Wreck-Gar and was a part of the same mold, so they didn't have to do any extra work to get the new head. But Junkyard has new side panels that clip onto his are attached to his arms and form sort of a front guard on his near his wheels on the side of his robot mode. And that was the thing. So Junkyard, I don't know if Junkyard was specifically called out by name in the movie, but they did say that it's based on sort of a Junkyard design from the movie, and they did say that the side panels were on the model sheet, but they were never actually there on the animation. So they've taken a really deep cut and gone into following the model sheet that fewer people have actually seen in order to produce this figure. And I think it looks good. The Wreck-Gar, the Studio Series Wreck-Gar has been, I guess, a bit of a guilty pleasure. I find him really fun. Have you handled it?
I haven't handled it, but I've heard nothing but good things. It's on that long list of things to track down at some point, but it's a good looking piece.
Yeah, notable on the so they've shown CG renders. Notably on the CG renders, the spikes sticking out of the side of the wheels are perfectly straight instead of the mess of them pointing up and down and all sorts of around and all over the place that they tend to be on the actual Wreck-Gar figure. Maybe they'll have sort of addressed what causes that. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so Voyager Junkyard is coming out, I think, sometime around April or May. It's not entirely clear. He has leaked out. It was quite funny on the live stream. They were talking about how they had an engineering pilot in one of the designers' houses, but all of the others were on a boat. But they have notably appeared on a particular YouTuber's stream as a finished product, rather than as a near finished product. Who knows what state it's in as it's come from the factory? But yeah. Hasbro US appears to be slightly affected by some of the shipping delays themselves, because some of their engineering samples appear to have been shipped over rather than flown over. So yeah, interesting. Other than Junkyard, there was also the new Dinobot, the third Dinobot, Leader Sludge. Apparently, all of their samples of this guy were also stuck on the same boat as Junkyard, but they did have an engineering prototype to show off. Very interestingly, so he's designed by the same crew as the people who designed Grimlock and Slug, and so he stands similar height. He has similar articulation. They look great together as a set. Now, Max, how many Dinobots do you count as being in a set?
That's a good question. I'd just say the core 5, right? 5? Yeah, there's 5.
So I would say 5, depending on the continuity. I'm
just thinking of a second. Am I missing one? But yeah, it's 5.
That's fine. No, 5 is a good answer. But I thought it was interesting that as they were talking about Sludge, they said, "Oh yes, we've got Sludge now. He finishes off our original trio of Dinobots," and I'm sure I'm not the only person who had some alarm bells go off in their head, going, "What about the other Dinobots? Are we not getting those, or what?" So they're calling the Dinobots a trio now.
That's never been a thing at any point, as far as I recall.
I don't know. They weren't even a trio in the original cartoon, were they?
No, it's been a very long time since I've watched that. But yeah, I'm certain they haven't been.
Pretty sure they weren't. But also,
I know there's been reduced casts of Dinobots in various points. It's been fluctuated up and down a bit, but it's never been these 3 in their G1 designs at any point.
But also, this is the Studio Series 86 line, so it should be taken from what's in the movie. But
all 5 are in the movie, though, aren't they? I mean,
sure, yes. So David actually points out the Dinobots were a trio in the first episodes, then they added 2 after. That's so weird, because I thought Swoop was in the first episode, but maybe not.
This is like the Mandela. This is some Mandela effect.
It probably is.
This
yes.
is like I think just blending together different Dinobot origins and
maybe,
but people tend not to watch the cartoon very much.
Well, I mean, maybe not these days. However, good info to have, but also as I pointed out, like this is meant to be as they appeared in the movie. So it's kind of weird. There's been a lot of questions over, are they actually going to do all the Dinobots or not? And people have been saying yes, they are. But the comments about them finishing a trio really make me concerned that we're not going to see the others at all. We'll see how it goes.
Because I think a lot of people, myself included, were quite excited for the prospect of, for one thing, just having proper updated Dinobots. I mean, because we got those Power of the Primes Power of the Primes figures, a little while back, which were fine, I guess. I think most people, myself included, have probably got and sold theirs. They weren't anything special, but those were really, for the cast outside of Grimlock, they were really essentially the only updates they've had officially, in the G1 style. So I think a lot of people were quite excited for the prospect that, oh, okay, we're going to get, these very proper looking figures, 5 or 4 of them, depending on where they decide to put Swoop in a leader class of a high budget. Like, it's an exciting prospect. So it's a bit, it is more than slightly concerning. Well, not more than slightly, but you know what I mean.
I do. So Talon says Dave is correct. Swoop and Snarl were introduced later on. Snarl might not be getting a release, as I don't recall seeing him in the movie. This goes around a little bit. There was apparently like two scenes or something where you can see Snarl, but whether or not that really counts in being in the movie is an open question. And Aaron says if they want to call it Studio Series, then they should have all the Dinobots that appeared in the movie. And David also then says, Season 1, Episode 8, SOS Dinobots, there was Grimlock, Slug, and Sludge. There we go.
Bloody hell. Okay. So, shows how much I actually remember about G1, which is somewhat embarrassing. But,
I don't think it needs to be a source of embarrassment. Anyway, so a couple of points where we've got Sludge's alt mode up on screen. The neck is articulated, so he's got quite a bit of options for posing with the neck, and there's even ratchets in the neck as well to just to really sort of support whatever pose you want to do. And there's a blast effect peg or port, I'm not sure, in his mouth as well, so he can breathe fire. Yes, and since this is Studio Series and it should be the 86 movie, Talon says, "Where's the googly eyes accessory?" Maybe that'll ship with a Studio Series Devastator. Who knows? Or good, you know what? It'll be interesting to get this guy in hand and see whether or not you can actually someone could mold a googly eyes accessory. Like, it does look like you could perhaps plug something into the space where his eyes sit in Dino mode. We'll see. Or something going into that little port near his the edge of his mouth. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure I remember some company doing it for one of the third-party masterpieces at some point.
Oh yes, definitely. I think it was Fans Toys with their version. But I mean, that should be a thing that comes along. Worth noting though, we don't know what comes with this. There might be a googly eyes accessory because so Grimlock came with Wheelie, Slug came with Daniel, and we don't know who Sludge is going to come with.
Like, the googly eyes are legitimately sort of iconic at this point, so that is worth the price of admission for another little minifigure.
It is, Hasbro. Wait a second. Hang on. What is this? Hasbro, meet me at camera 1. Right. Hi, it's just us here. It's only the two of us. Just want to talk to you. Please, no one wants the little dude that comes with the other Studio Series guys. We don't care about them. We leave them all in the box. We throw them out. We mock them. Like, no one likes them. Please, don't do it, and just give us googly eyes. Right? It's easy. They don't even have to transform. You can just plug them, make a little thing that plugs in and just has googly eyes that sit over Sludge's eyes in Dino mode. Right? Easy. Done. Thank you. There we go. We're back.
That was one of the most heartfelt things I've ever seen, Jason.
I know. Yeah, I like it's something beautiful. I feel passionately about.
It's something you speak for the masses.
I don't know about that, but we'll see. Let's move on. There was there was a discussion of Core Exosuit Spike, but I don't think even TFW included photos of him in their summaries. So apparently that's not there. But he's also already been released in the UAE, so he doesn't really count as an upcoming figure. So fair enough. Core Exosuit Spike, we did discover A, he transforms, and B, he has a lever on the back on his back that allows you to rotate the head of the figure in the inside his exosuit. So if you're looking for some specific poses or looks, you can probably get that out of the figure. He's also very articulated. There's a lot of posability, which is kind of standard for the core class these days. There's a lot of options, lots of ball joints for things, but it's good to see it. Good to see that come across into that figure. Next up, let's talk about Legacy. Legacy is getting a mini collection of Beast repaints. These guys are repaints of figures that have come out in Kingdom already, so we're not going to spend too much time on them. They are going to be a Walmart exclusive in the USA, but they should end up coming in for a regular release elsewhere. But we'll see how it goes. We are looking at Sandstorm. Sandstorm is a rather striking, I have to say, Scorpenoc repaint. And he does come with a new head sculpt as well, just to sort of differentiate the character a little bit more. And yeah, in much the same way that I really quite like the orange color scheme on the Mutant Tigertron. Like, I look at this and I was like, yeah, that's quite a cool color. I quite like it. Notably, also the version of this that they were showing on the live stream has a slightly different paint job than the one that they've shown on the in the photos here. So don't know which one's going to be correct. But yeah, so still turns into a Scorpion. He's still just a repaint of Scorpenoc, but yeah, still looks pretty nice. And those colors are pretty wild. They pointed out there's sort of the sand colored body, the orange pinches, and the purple legs. Just really out there. I don't really have that much more to say about it. He is a nicely colored. I was kind of relying on you. Yeah, that's all right.
I know nothing about any of these. They just sort of look like different colored versions of Beast Wars figures.
Yeah, they are. So I'm pretty sure this guy was based on an old release. I'm not sure if he was a botcon figure or not, but I'm sure someone in the comments will say. Maybe he might actually be an original Beast Wars release. We'll see. But yeah, so not being very familiar with the characters, are you interested to add these into your collection or just cruise on past?
Cruise on past quite happily.
Nah, fair enough.
They don't look like bad figures. When we're looking at now, the Sandstorm in particular, it's a good looking mold. I've thought it's a nicely proportioned looking thing, but it's just as a concept, I'm one of those Transformers fans that's just never gotten the Beast stuff whatsoever.
It's fair. It's fair enough. Neither have I. I've got a couple of them.
But I can appreciate it. Yeah. I can appreciate a nicely engineered figure though, and this certainly looks to be that.
So interestingly enough, I find so the Predacon Scorpenoc in Kingdom, a lot of people were really looking forward to it, and I think it disappointed a lot of people. So I don't know whether it disappointed people in terms of quality of the figure or size of the figure, because he was seen to be quite small. So a repaint will not fix the size issue. But if there were issues with the figure itself, then hopefully they'll have fixed them on this run. But I suspect that we might see people just avoid the figure, because I don't think that Scorpenoc left a great taste in people's mouth.
Interesting. Okay.
Next one is a Cheetor repaint, which is Night Prowler. He is definitely not a real character that was released back in the Beast Wars days. He's based on an unreleased Beast Wars prototype, but he does have some really detailed paint on him for the spots, and especially some detail around the face. I mean the animal face on his chest. There's lots of lines and spots on there. So a lot of interesting detail on there, and yeah. So his colors, he's sort of a tawny brown in a way, and there's a lot of yellow inside him, and apparently they made him an Autobot because the unreleased prototype actually showed him as an Autobot. So yeah, I am gonna sneeze. Give me a sec. Right, managed to mute the sneeze. I hope.
Yeah.
And so we'll take a look at his beast mode there, and well, like I said, he's got a lot of paint all over him in terms of the spots. It's not an all over paint job, but it's impressive enough. And again, there's that detail in the head sculpt as well on the paint front. If you're into your beasts, this is probably something that you're going to look to add into your collection. I am also not really that into the beasts, but there are definitely going to be some people who are into this. I will also add that I feel like this figure might be incoming to my house a little bit sooner than people think as well. So we'll see. We'll talk about that we'll talk about that if it happens. We'll see. And also on that same boat, let's say. So we're looking at Buzzsaw. Now, Buzzsaw is a repaint of Waspinator with a different head as well. And I gotta say, I feel like Waspinator was perhaps better received than people expected when he came out. There were a lot of early comparisons between Kingdom Waspinator and Thrilling 30 Waspinator, just based on photos, and I think a lot of people initially really discounted the figure based on that. And then when they got the figure in hand, and like I've poked and prodded Kingdom Waspinator a little bit, and he's actually a really nice solid figure. I actually really like the way that his wings look and work, and they move around a lot. And there's a lot of, I mean, look, you can do some pretty amazing things with ball joints on characters and on figures these days. But so Waspinator has an interesting color scheme. There's some different tints and different transparent pieces on him. He's got black wings with a very slight tint to them because they are transparent material. And you can see there's a good tint on his the green on his face as well.
It kind of works out really nicely. It captures this sort of mismatched vibe that you get with a lot of 90s Transformers, like the original figures, or it often just looks coupled together. And it really harkens back to that quite nicely.
It's quite right. Not sure if I'll bring myself to purchase any of these figures for myself, to be honest. But I think it's interesting that they're going to be out there, and there will definitely be a contingent of Beast Wars fans who'll be up for these, and like some people I know are already clamoring for them. But yeah, I think because in the US these are going to be a Walmart exclusive, apparently coming in March. We'll see how that goes. I feel like they might have a bit of a limited release elsewhere as well. But we'll see how that goes. Don't have too much to say about them other than that. There is also a new two new vintage Beast Wars reissues, which are in fact already out in Asia. We talked about them on the podcast last week. So there is a reissue of Scorpenoc. Rob Franklin in the Facebook group got a hold of his this week and took some fantastic photos. Made it look amazing. There's a really nice sort of, you can see this metallic sheen to the color on the paint in the figure, and looks really nice. There's Scorpenoc, and there's also a re-release of Tigertron. Just in case we didn't have enough Tigertrons released last year. We had the Voyager, we had the Mutant Tigertron, and now we've got the Vintage Tigertron. So it really has been Tigertron's year apparently as well. Vintage Tigertron is quite small. He's sort of more like a deluxe size figure. So Tigertron in Kingdom was a Voyager, so slightly larger than this, but small figure in the reissue. So yeah, I'm not particularly into the vintage Beast Wars reissues myself. I'm more into the vintage G1 reissues. They seem to have stopped a little bit, maybe stalled a little bit while they celebrate Beast Wars' anniversary, and we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, we're just going to blast through the last few people. There's Tigertron's Beast Mode there. Last couple of releases, two new figures have been announced for the Red Line. The Red Line, I find it hard to get excited about them, but Knockout's been, there's a lot of love for Knockout in the community, and Transformers Prime Knockout specifically, and it's nice to see that there's a figure coming that is representative of how he actually looks on screen in Transformers Prime, because the toy certainly didn't. like this at all. It didn't capture that look at all. So like, I'm kind of tempted to get the red knockout just to sort of go next to Breakdown on my shelf, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to give the red line oxygen in order to do that, but we'll see.
I'd be tempted to give a red line oxygen, but I've never seen it for sale anywhere, so it's kind of like.
Well, it doesn't come to
make your things available if you want people to buy.
It doesn't come to retail stores in Australia, as far as I'm aware. It may end up in EB Games. I'm not sure, but like you can buy it online from places like Zavvi, and I think some of them pop up on Amazon, but they might be sold by marketplace sellers. I'm not sure. And of course, there are no alt modes to show, so you only get one photo of each of them. The other one is, of course, a repaint, because we have had Optimus Prime, so we do, of course, get Ultra Magnus, because where one goes, the other goes. To be perfectly honest, I would have been more interested in this if it was Shattered Glass, Optimus Prime, or something like that. Like,
there's a million more interesting options for an Optimus repaint.
There certainly are.
Realistically, it is it feels vaguely nostalgic, though. Like, it's been a very long time since there was a white Ultra Magnus released.
I would say classics.
Classics, yeah. It'd be classics, or maybe the Reveltech.
I think classics postdates Reveltech, but I don't know. I feel like white Ultra Magnus is a well that they do go back to, just not necessarily in the mainstream, not in the mainstream lines. I don't know.
I'm sure it's shown up on like licensed pieces, but officially, like, in terms of Hasbro produced stuff, it would have to be classics, like you said.
Yeah, it could be a distinction to draw. Yeah. So the white inner robot of Ultra Magnus that was clearly a discarded Optimus Prime, yet again comes to life as an Optimus Prime white repaint. It is what it is. I was not a fan of the red Optimus Prime figure. At the time, I put it up next to the Earthrise Optimus Prime, and I was like, well, this is harder to pose, has less range of movements, and like, yes, you can change his hands and stuff, but it was just a lot more grief to make him do an interesting pose than I felt I could do with an actual Transformer. So. Yeah, that's kind of a problem that I have with a lot of the red figures. I just don't see them. Being able to strike the poses that the actual toys can.
Is it a bit more of a plastic problem where they're sort of made of that weird gummy plastic that gets used for a lot of Hasbro 6-inch stuff?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's worth noting also. I think red figures, like, we say that they fit in like a 6-inch line from Hasbro, but they're actually bigger. They're probably more like 7-inch figures. But yes, it is kind of the material that they're made of. Like, it's like you can see how you can see on this photo that you can tilt his ankles, right? Like, you can move his ankles left and right. But because of the way that it's constructed, like, you'll push it, and you have to push it past where you want it to be because it'll bend back. And so
and I've got Marvel Legends sitting there that just haven't moved in a couple of years, and now they no longer move at certain joints.
Yeah, right.
Because the stuff, you have a couple of hot days and it melts together slightly. It sticks in place. It's like that. It's not a couple
of hot days,
plastic.
and they get hot and bothered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. So, red, not really high on my want list. I know there's a few people. Who want them. Like, there are some people who will collect these mainly because they're into the characters. Like I said, I'm considering Knockout because he's the best looking Knockout figure that we're ever likely to get. And I'm pretty sure there is a Knockout figure coming in Legacy this year as well. We'll see how that goes. I mean, maybe I'd just prefer to get the Legacy Knockout to pose him up with Breakdown. But yeah, kind of a lazy repaint to just do a white Ultra Magnus. Would have liked to see something else. I feel red does well when it does something that doesn't already exist as a toy. So the red line in the last 6 months has given us the reformatting version of Megatron. Right? There's no toy of that. do interesting things with the characters in red rather than just presenting new versions of them. And I think you'll get a lot more people interested in buying them. Like, anecdotally, out of all of the imports that I've been doing for toys, reformatting Megatron is by far and away the most popular red figure that people have been going for on import.
That really? Okay. Mm-hmm. I would not have. I sort of, that one completely went under my radar because I just sort of, just looks vaguely generic. But then, yeah, okay, that's really surprising.
Well, so a lot of people got him to stand in front of their Unicron, or stand with Galvatron or anything like that, and sort of, because he is a very distinct color scheme off Megatron. He's dark purple and he's half painted over with the grid, as Unicron reformats Megatron. So, like that's something we haven't seen in a toy before or a figure. So I understand why people are into that because it's something that they haven't got before. But yeah, the Ragu Overlord says Action Masters in the red line. Absolutely true. They are Action Masters. Then
I was about to say, I would easily buy these if they threw in the Action Masters. Say you have post Nucleon Grimlock from the comics, or Banzai-Tron. Any of them. Yeah. You get these characters cool. That there's no reason to transform, so you may as well go ahead and go a bit nuts of it, or something like, there could be a potential to do some really cool stuff with Michael Bay designs. Something like, figures where they can only stuff like AOE Galvatron, which can only feasibly exist in the third party space because that transformation doesn't make any sense. If there's a place to have something like that, it's in a line like this.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Like I said, I would like to see Red do more things that aren't already existing toys. But yeah. All right, let's move on. So the last couple of things, it's something that's actually already out. I can reach over and grab some of them as well. In fact, so they did mention the Buzzworthy Bumblebee set of repaints that was released in December. So there's 3 figures in this, and they are notable repaints because they have actually changed some things about them in the repaints, and they did say on the live stream that they were being a little bit experimental with some of the aspects of these. So B127 has a different paint job, and there's a lot of people that look at this paint job and they're like, yeah, actually I much prefer this version. So there's been a little bit of a run on B127. People going for this version of the figure over others.
It's kind of interesting that it's not as movie accurate either, but anyone can look. I would look at that and say it's a nicer looking paint job. Everyone else seems to have been saying the same thing, but even though it isn't as accurate to the movie, that's a bit interesting.
So it looks to me like this must actually be a photo because he's actually mistransformed. His left leg, they didn't flip a panel down over his foot. Yeah. So slightly different, nicer paint job on this version of B127. The next two are interesting. So there's Cliff Jumper. Now, I'm just gonna bring myself up on screen here and just say there's that Cliff Jumper because wait a sec, I'm trying not to get my screen reflection there. So yeah, so there's that Cliff Jumper there. I haven't opened him yet, but he is sitting on my 2 open piles. So I will make a point of trying to open him up and give some thoughts on him next week. Cliff Jumper has they've changed out the translucent painted material for flat plastic in this, which should make him a little bit more sturdy, perhaps. But I'm not sure whether or not this mold really had much of a problem with the transparent roof. And they've given him a shiny paint job on the gun as well, which I find quite interesting that they've gone for a shiny metallic blue. But there you have it. And the thing that I really like about this, and the flat blue panels, the flat blue windows have proven quite divisive between people. like you saw this with, say, Shatterglass Goldbug, where you would have a transparent window and windscreen, but you'd have a flat colored background, a flat colored back window. And so by switching these up so that you actually give it a painted window all around, I think you improve the vehicle mode look, because you don't have mismatched windows anymore. You've got the same color windows all around.
And it's also, you're not looking inside. If you have a transparent window, you can see inside. You can see all the little bits and pieces. Just that it creates more kibble. Whereas this, even if it looks, it looks more cartoony, but that works because this is a cartoon character, so it just looks better.
Yeah, I agree. I think the same thing with it. They've done the same thing with Cup, and I think this is far and away better. And I also think oh wait, that's the wrong. There we go. I think he looks way better. You recall many times in the last year when we were looking at leaks and pictures of these figures, I spent a really long time talking about how I really didn't like the transparent window on Cup's chest, because it really didn't look like the movie. And in a line that strives for movie accuracy, I didn't understand why they had done that. And so in this version of Cup, there's no transparent window. They have instead painted it the same sort of like flat window color that Cliffjumper has. And it also means that, again, his vehicle mode looks so much better and so much more screen accurate to his appearance. Yeah, straight off the screen. And it also now looks like a legitimate update to his G1 alt mode. Like that's his G1 alt mode right there. There's no weird transparent plastic covering up any shiny pieces below or anything. So I'm so much happier with this. I think it looks great. They mentioned I might actually, now that we've talked about this, the Ragu Overlord says, I bet Toy Hacks never released a set of labels for SS86 Cup because they knew another version would be released. That's quite interesting. I don't know, but yeah, I suspect that there's maybe there's a bit of back channel communication going on there. Who knows? So I'm probably going to sell my original SS86 Cup. Like, I've got no reason to keep him with this one. I think this is pretty great. I'm going to kick out the news screen share and just say so during the presentation when they brought up Cup and Cliffjumper, they did say that they're experimenting with this look of eschewing the transparent windows in favor of a flat color that's more animation accurate. And they said they want to hear from people what they think, whether or not people want to see this on more bots. And I think it really, the question as to whether or not this is something we want to see more often, I think it kind of needs to. It depends. It kind of needs to be decided case by case as to whether if it's something that's in the Studio Series line where it's meant to be screen accurate. You probably do want to do this, but if it's mainline and Legacy and stuff like that, maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe you want more transparent plastic going on in those.
Yeah, absolutely. Just I guess so long as it's consistent across the line as a whole, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like the consistency aspect is probably something that you might not get consistency on this. They may end up having to decide it sort of case by case as to what they do, but yeah, I think in this case, like Cup especially, certainly way more impressed with this version of Cup. Cliffjumper I kind of don't care about, but I really like that little mold, so I'm fine with it. And that is it for news. We're just over an hour, so let's quickly talk about some new acquisitions. And
we always do this. We do a 2-up and then we actually wind up taking significantly longer than anticipated.
We do take a while, but look, do you want to take us through your acquisitions first up? What have you got this week?
I am a single acquisition this week, but quite a little interesting one. So I was in Melbourne over New Year, made the pilgrimage to Pleasant Surprises, and as I was there, picked up this fella. So this is a bit of a convoluted one. It's the Neo Art Toys knockoff of the Perfect Effect Lio Convoy. And it's the Evangelion Unit 01 repaint version.
So he's the EVA colours. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the sort of thing that doesn't fit anywhere on a display. But I kind of just had to have it anyway because it
fits
looks
awesome. Fits next to EVA Convoy if you've got that.
I do have EVA Convoy.
Yeah.
I'm unsure with the display next to EVA Convoy to have the to have that consistency there between the two EVA Optimus Primes, or have it next to my metal build Evangelions, because this thing actually, just proportion wise, I can see why they did this color scheme, because it looks more like an Evangelion than a Transformer.
It does, yeah. And
it's built incredibly well. Like, the build quality is, I mean, it's not nearly on par with a metal build, but it's closer to the build quality of a metal build either than it is to a Masterpiece Transformer. Like, it's really subtly put together. There's weird little things like a couple of the panels just pop off because they're not glued on in a really bizarre QC errors. But then you get to the joints and they're all rock solid with like the most, perfect buttery smooth ball joints and these really solid detented knees. Like, it's, really sturdy plastic all around. Lots of die cast in him and just covered in paint. It's also just a visually really interesting figure. Plenty of accessories too.
Very nice.
And then the weird thing is, transforming him isn't really a transformation. It is like you flick these bits around with the lion head and the bit of armor here, and then you just pose the rest of the body into the shape of a lion. Like, it doesn't transform at all, really. It just poses. But I kind of don't care because it does it really well. So it just works. I guess because it has these very dynamic proportions, you just pose it into that shape and it just works. And posability is basically the biggest draw of this figure as well. It's just stupid posable. It's got, like I said, it is actually reasonably comparable to a metal build EVA, which, if you know those things, they're really high end, probably spend too much money on them, but they're really nicely posable. And this thing's got it all up the wazoo. Individual toe joints, knees, drop down hips, multiple ab joints, the works. It's fantastic.
I have an awkward question.
Yes.
Why this figure? So is it because it looks more like a you said it was more like an Evangelion figure, or is it because
I don't know.
It's a cool Leo convoy? Because I mean, you've spent all of the time that we've had Legacy figures that were Beast Wars figures up going, I'm not interested in Beast Wars, but you've bought a Leo convoy repaint.
I'm not. That's the thing. But even before this repaint existed, I was sort of on my radar because just from an engineering perspective, right? It's just end of the day, I love a good posable figure. Right, that's really what it comes down to. He's been around
for a number of years, and it's quite difficult to get the original now as well, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think the original actually had the EVA repaint either.
No, this is purely a KO thing. But if you're on the fence about it, as I was for a time being before I saw it in store and was like, bugger it, I'll just see what it's like. The KO is really solid, good quality stuff. There's a couple of weird little build quality issues, like these panels on the shoulder just fall off because they're not glued for whatever reason. Like they just haven't been glued on. But then, that's in dichotomy in contrast to all of the joints across the figure being super solid and holding whatever pose you put it in.
Very nice.
So I guess as for why this figure, it just looked cool. That's about it. It just looked it's a good looking figure that doesn't need to be anything more than that.
Very good.
How about yourself?
Well, I've got two figures that have arrived recently that I'm gonna show off here. Number one is the Coronation Starscream So he is the Earthrise Starscream mold with a movie accurate paint job, and he's got Coronation kit on. So he's got shoulder pads, and he has as you can see, a hinged cape that attaches onto his back. And the cape is, to be honest, I bought this set for something else, but I've been quite impressed by the Coronation gear. Like you can fold the cape back down so that it's sort of just a more sort of traditional cape that sits behind him. The Coronation, the shoulder pads are really interesting. I don't know if you can really make it out here, but his guns in this kit are actually attached to his shoulder pads, because the way that the way that this mold works is that you have to sort of rotate this around in order to make this work, but you then get his hand facing the wrong way because his hands don't swivel anymore. So to sort of get around that, they've given you a mounting point for alternate null rays, so you can still make him look like he's about to shoot you in his Coronation gear.
Does that work well in person?
It does. I mean, like, you know, it's sort of the classic thing of, you know, Starscream with his arm up, about to you know, do his Coronation thing and stuff. And like, as I was posing this, I was just like, why the fuck am I keep posing him with his arm up? Like, it doesn't really do that much for me as a pose. Like, there's got to be something more interesting you can do. But so, if you want him to look like he's got his null rays on while he's got the shoulder pads, you need to put them on these little hooks that come in. You can just see there's a little pink piece inside there.
Yeah,
and that's on a hinge that comes down. I find the Coronation gear is quite clever, the way that it sits on, and it sits on and fits into pieces. And sorry, I misspoke there. So the Coronation kit actually fits into the 5mm port on the top of his arm, and so that's why you can't put the null ray in there. And there's another 5mm port on the back of his arm there, but if you turn his arm around to get the access to the 5mm port there, then you have a weird pose with the hand. So it's cool that it's there. To be honest, that's not why I bought this at all. Like, this is the other thing in the box is why I bought the Coronation Starscream. Like that's the throne.
That's half
is
the
awesome.
budget.
It is totally half the budget. It is a big solid single piece of plastic. It's really cool. So I've put the original null rays. They give you the original null rays and the new ones for the Coronation kit on the back of the throne. We had this in the light box last night here. Had some friends around. We took some fun photos with different bots sitting on the throne, things like that. It's been really cool. It's been really good fun. Really wanted this, but I've also been really impressed by the Coronation kit, and also I'm a sucker for Seekers, so like, you know, of course I'm gonna like that. One other, I also got the other. I got the other Studio Series 86 bot that came out this month as well, and cracked him open on Friday night as well, which is nearly dropped him there. Studio Series 86 Perceptor, really nice mold. Lots of articulation options. I love the fact that you can move and tilt his ankles and swivel his legs and his arms. Everything that you would expect to be able to do on this figure, you can do it. It's a deluxe figure. It's $35. He's packed with articulation options, and he's Perceptor. So, you know, what's not to like? Yeah, just really enjoy messing around with him. So yeah, those are my two acquisitions for the week. I do have a couple of other acquisitions. I haven't opened them yet. So yeah,
as do I. So hopefully we can keep going. We'll see how we can go for maintaining the timing.
Yeah. You can open up some bots this week, and we'll talk about them next week or on Friday. So we'll see how we go. Rob Franklin says that Perceptor looks fantastic. It is time to retire the Generations version. I think you're right, Rob. I've heard from a number of people over the last little while that they're not really into the 86 Perceptor because the Titans Return and the Generations ones are pretty good. But I think they've been beaten. This guy's he's a modern figure. He's a modern figure. He's made of modern plastic, and he's a modern size, so he's a little bit smaller. But the articulation is in there, and he fits really well with the rest of the 86 line. So yeah, really looking forward to putting that display back up on my shelves, because my shelves are a mess. I'm sitting in front of
your shelves are a mess.
Like an empty shelf is not a mess, so it's fine.
That's the best. That's I have empty shelves, and I have messes. So
yeah,
it all evens out.
All right. I think that is it. We've gone for an hour 20. I think we're done. I don't think there's anything else I want to add on this week. We can catch up with missed news. We'll do a proper episode on Friday or next weekend. But yeah, I think that's it. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for watching along the live record. It is a Sunday night, and there's been a constant flow of people watching along with the stream and commenting along. So thank you very much for giving up your time on Sunday night for watching us. You'll find out more about these stories. We'll find links to them in the show notes. It's mainly just the one on TFW with the official photos, but there. You can get in touch with us. We're in Transformers Collectors Club Australia. We're on Facebook. Our official page is Australian Transformers Weekly, and our website is transformersweekly.podbean.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast. We are a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia, a registered club in Victoria, run by volunteers donating their time, effort, energy, and Sunday nights to make collecting in Australia better for everyone. We want to build the Australian collecting community by engaging fans around the country, making content like this, and attending live in-person events like Oz Comic Con. We run Facebook's largest dedicated Australian Transformers discussion and sales communities. So come join us online. You'll find links to all of this stuff at transformerscca.com. That is about it. We will be back with more Transformers news, views, opinions, feel opinions, and we will feel the news at you next week. I'm going to say next week, but we'll see how we go. That's it. Anything to add, Max, before we go?
We need to either just record that whole spiel of you at the end and artificially insert it in, or we can like train one of those.
It's more genuine if you say it live. It's fine.
We can just those deep fake AI which like replicates someone's voice. We can just get one of those, and that can don't do that
because someone will just have me singing more like an Egyptian or something. But all right, I think that's it from us. We've started talking about deep fake AI. I'm gonna end the show before we
let's end the show.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back with more next time. See ya.
Gotcha.